We, as a community, value raising up a diversity of voices and perspectives, and one of the ways we do that is we have something called a community moment each week at this time in the program, where we invite anyone from the Oasis community. Well, you got to sign up. It's not spontaneous to come up and share a kind of a thought for the day. Sometimes it's your journey to free thought. Sometimes it's kind of an important life experience you've had that you'd like to share with others. Sometimes it's a topic you're passionate about. Yes, it would be about 10 minutes or less. And today we welcome back a veteran community moment presenter who never fails to teach us something new, Gary Houle. And I have to tell, we had to juggle this around at the last minute this week, so I contacted him like maybe Tuesday or Wednesday, and he did this. This is like an on the spot, so I'm super appreciative of Gary being able to step in. So thank you, Gary, and come on up.
This month happens to be my 1-year anniversary of joining the Oasis community. And so I thought what I would do is share some of my reflections on this past year, and that's what I'm going to talk about here. I'd like to start with just a couple of comments or two about things, and then I have 3 lessons that I have learned and I want to share with you. The first thing I'd like to talk about is the charitable acts that we perform here. I've given to things like United Way or Red Cross all my life, and it kind of makes you feel good. But it doesn't make you feel as good as when you actually do something. And coming to Oasis has given me a chance for the first time in my life to actually do those things. I got to go out to the Houston Food Bank and actually fill those boxes with food for homebound people or families that have children that they can't afford to provide the nourishing food for them. I was able to make donations for some of the homeless people here in Houston. I didn't know, for example, that one of the things that they appreciate the most is just socks. And you think about it, well, yeah, that kind of makes sense. If you're out there, without a home, having clean socks can probably be pretty meaningful to you. We've had some pretty emotional ones. I made some contributions when we sort of adopted those 2 women who were in the shelter for abused women, and were able to help a couple of them have a really nice Christmas for their children, have presents for their kids and stuff like that. That really, again, you get to do it right there. You don't just mail money into somebody in the void out there. And something that I just could never have imagined. You watch television, you see all of this turmoil with the Syrian refugees, and especially the children that going through these dangerous trips on boats and the reception they're receiving and stuff like that. And you're like, we got together and we were sending child carriers for them to carry their children. And I'm like, it gives you a chance not to just see that happening and feel compassion, but actually to be compassionate, to actually do something. And so that's one of the big takeaways I've had in the past year here. Something I've heard said on a number of occasions is that when you come to Oasis, a lot of people make more friends here in a very short time than they do in their entire previous lives. And that's been true for me. I have made many new friends here. And it's not always just Oasis directly. Through somebody here at Oasis, I found out about a lecture on cosmology, which is a favorite topic of mine. I went to the lecture and I ran into 2 wonderful people named John and Ginny. They were both here last week. John made it today because Ginny wasn't able to make it today. So you get to make friends not just at Oasis, but throughout the community. So again, wonderful things that can happen as a result of being at Oasis. So I want to move on to the lessons now. The first one involves that infamous Northwest men's lunch. At least that's what it's called when I first came here. And my lesson came from the very first time I went to that, because I'd heard about it through conversations. I think I'd seen it on Facebook or something, so I went to BJ's up there by Willowbrook. And I was the first one there. And so, knowing there were going to be 6 or 8 people, I asked for, they had these large booths that you can sit in. They're kind of horseshoe shaped. It'll hold 6 or 8 people. So, she said, well, would you like to sit down now? And I did, and so there's me and then 6 or 7 other menus. And it turned out, for reasons which I do not understand to this day, I was the only one that showed up at that particular meeting. And the lesson I learned from that is that, especially in Texas, that restaurants are very understandable if you bring make-believe gods, to the restaurant. Not so much if you use one of their large tables at lunchtime and bring make-believe friends. Just not one of those things. Anyway, one of the people that everybody here probably knows is Verena. And we've become pretty good friends. We are scientific colleagues, and we also found out that we had a passion for hiking. And so it was actually last weekend that we went up to Sam Houston State Park and went there for a hike. And just making conversation, I asked her what her PhD thesis was on. It turns out it was on Alzheimer's. And I pointed out that Joe Grace is taking some algebra classes because he's trying to make sure that he can fight off any symptoms of Alzheimer's as time goes on. And I help him with that, and so I made the comment that, by being a mathematician my whole life, I'm probably, staving off early onset Alzheimer's. And as casual taking a next breath, she looks at me and says, "Oh, it's too late for you to get early onset Alzheimer's." So my mental state went immediately from complete confidence that I could do this 7-mile hike to maybe I should just lay down right here and take a nap. But the lesson I learned from that was that she was not making any comment whatsoever about me or my age. She was just telling me about a scientific fact that she had been taught in her training. And it occurred to me that throughout my entire life, it never occurred to me that just, as scientists, we're always throwing out these facts and figures and saying things like that, that there might be other impacts that you don't even realize. And I will remember that going forward because I was impacted by that. And finally, I think Oasis's strongest foundational element is its compassion. It's sort of the bedrock of this organization. And I'll be honest with you, one of the reasons I ended up coming to Oasis was because I have a very strong dislike of religion. As you may remember in my first community moment, I talked about as a young boy, I was humiliated by the Catholic Church simply because I was poor. But it's gone on beyond that. As I've studied history over the years, it's replete through our history, the violence, the death, the suppression, all through it. And that bothers me no end. One of my most meaningful examples is the mathematician Hypatia. She was one of the first women to make significant contributions to mathematics. She was slaughtered by a fanatical Christian sect because of her passion for reason. But we all know today, Oasis, the suppression of women, genital mutilation. It goes on and on and on. In this country, it's the suppression of equal rights for the gay, lesbian, and transgender community. There's no end to it. It's a little more personal for me too because I spend a lot of time with my 3-year-old granddaughter, and every time she comes home from the Christian preschool that she goes to, it's always Jesus made me, or Jesus does this or that, and boy, does that torque my jaw. So I have a gentle conversation to challenge her on that. But when I came here once, Mike was actually up here giving a presentation, and he made the comment that we welcome people of religion here. It doesn't matter if you're Christian or Islamic or whatever it is. We are compassionate. We are not judgmental against anybody. And I realized that I always thought I was a compassionate person. And that comment made me think, maybe you're not as compassionate as you thought, because my dislike of religion extended to religious people. But Mike's comment taught me I can despise religion, but there's no need to despise religious people. And so that was the lesson I got from that. There's a saying that every place you go, you should try to leave it a little better when you leave. I have found that Oasis is kind of a mirror image of that, in that every time I leave this place, I feel a little more enriched and a little better man than when I came in. And so when I close here by saying thank you, I really mean to all of you out there, thank you, because you really have meant a lot to me this past year. So thank you.